Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us here at West Valley Water District. It is approximately 7:13 in the PM. Tonight is Thursday, August 6th, 2020. The meeting is called to order. Let's start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with rights and justice for all.
All right, now, next up, we have the prayer. Pastor Gabriel O'Brien from Prophet Del Rey. All right, now, next up, we have the prayer. Pastor Gabriel O'Brien from Prophet Del Rey. All right, now, next up, we have the prayer. Pastor Gabriel O'Brien from Prophet Del Rey. All right, now, next up, we have the
Do we know if the meeting's going on? Do we know if the Is that coming out on the? 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 Is that coming out on the?
He was the one holding my hand, waiting for me to wake up. And when I finally did, he was my rock, getting me through those hours, weeks, months of unspeakable pain and unending surgery. He was my anchor as I relearned to walk, helping me through every step and every stumble. Our military spouses hold their families together, praying for their loved ones' safety wherever they're deployed and serving as caregivers for our disabled service members, and then picking up the pieces and starting again whenever the next tour or the next war arises. Joe Biden understands these sacrifices because he's made them himself. When his son Beau deployed to Iraq, his burden was also shouldered by his family. Joe knows the feeling military. If you're deployed, he understands their bravery because that same strength every hour of every day Beau was overseas. That's the kind of leader our service members deserve. One who understands the risks they face and who would actually protect them by doing his job as
of years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer, and I was absolutely terrified. One of the first people who called me was Joe. His real warmth and kindness on that call, man, I gotta say, it made me cry. Our current president has made me cry too, but it's never had anything to do with his warmth or kindness. Joe Biden's empathy is genuine. You can feel it. That's why President Obama asked Joe to head up the cancer moonshot. President Obama
Is it still 7 people on?
Joe Biden understands
Is it still 7 people on?
Mayor Pete Buttigieg also knows something about sacrifice. He volunteered.
Hello, can you repeat that, please?
And in we put your life on the line for this country. We do it not because it's the country you live in, but because it's a country you believe in. I believe in this country because America uniquely holds the promise of a place where everyone can belong. We know that for too many and for too long, that promise has been denied.
You're on there. You're the
Good
last.
evening. The board of directors are still in closed session. We will be sure to provide you an update once we have further information.
Military, where firing me because of who I am isn't just possible, it was policy. Now, in 2020,
No, they're still in closed session. Did you hear what they said? What? What? I'm not on.
How this country could change. Love makes my marriage real. But political courage made it possible, including that of Joe Biden, who stepped out ahead
Yeah, I was just gonna go with that. Good evening, the Board of Directors is out of closed session now. We will begin momentarily.
This is the one that did the investigation. Yes, Mark, this is the one, he's from, yes. Yes, he's done, give everybody all the letters, but more letters, you said it was something or. Oh, they already sent it, they emailed them in already? Or no, I guess they asked. Yeah, because they're printing, they're, the public comment will be done. All right. Oh, it's not one that item? Didn't I ask you? No, that's, if, last time I did it separately, well, if they have something in general, then they can do it at the front of the meeting or general public comment. But if we have a comment about a specific item, they can comment at that specific item. That makes sense, right? Okay. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Valley Water District. Today is Thursday, August 20th. It is approximately 7:31 in the PM. This meeting is called to order. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Next up is the opening prayer by Pastor Gerald Thompson. Pastor Thompson, are you on the line? Pastor Thompson?
I think you might be on mute, Channing.
Oh, he's attempting to speak with this on mute. Oh, he came in first.
You just somebody was at the goal.
Okay. Well, opening prayer, anybody give it a shot? Okay, all right. Dr. Young?
Heavenly Father, we come before thee tonight to ask your blessings and guidance upon our meeting. We do this in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. All right. Next, roll call for the board members. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Roll call. Ms. Mason.
Director Dr. Michael Taylor,
Present.
Director Greg Young,
Here.
Director Dr. Clifford Young,
Here.
Director Al Crowder.
Present.
Present.
Thank you. President Channing Hopkins.
Present. Okay. Next up is to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Ashe, call for the, Ms. Mesa, call for the vote. It's a reflective action. No, I apologize, Ms. Mesa.
Okay, so call for the vote.
Yes, Ms. Mesa.
Okay. Director Dr. Michael Taylor,
I'm sorry, I missed that. Was that to accept the agenda?
Chief,
Yes?
I'm
Sorry.
we're accepting the agenda.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Okay. So,
Director
yes.
Greg Young,
Yes.
Director Dr. Clifford Young,
Yes.
Vice President
Yes.
President Channing Hopkins.
Yes. Okay, next up is public participation. General public participation, can you, Mr. Brucey, please, articulate our rules regarding public participation?
Good evening, President Hopkins and members of the board. Any person wishing to speak to the board of directors on matters listed or not listed on the agenda within its jurisdiction is asked to complete a speaker card and submit it to the district clerk. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Under the State of California Brown Act, the board of directors is prohibited from discussing or taking action on items not listed on the posted agenda. Comments related to notice public hearings and business matters will be heard during the occurrence of the item. Public communications is the time for anyone to address the board on any agenda item or anything under the jurisdiction of the district. Also, please remember that no disruption from the crowd will be tolerated. If someone disrupts the meeting, they will be removed. And then in regards to our teleconference goes, in an effort to prevent the spread of COVID-19 coronavirus, and in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order N2920 and the Order of the County of San Bernardino dated March 17, 2020, there will be no public location for the attending this Board of Directors meeting in person. Members of the public may listen and provide public comment via telephone by calling the phone number and access code dial 1-888-475-4499. Access code 807-977-6383. Or you may join using Zoom by clicking this link, https://us02web.zoom.us/807-977-6383. Public comment may also be submitted via email to the Public Affairs Manager, Nasim Faruqi, NFarouqi@wvwd.org. The webinar is also available for public viewing at wvwd.org. If you require any additional assistance, please contact Nasim Faruqi at nfaruqi@wvwd.org.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment?
If you do have a public comment unrelated to items not listed on the agenda, please go ahead and unmute yourself. However, if it is an item on the agenda that you would like to speak on, please wait for that item to come forward to the board.
Mr. President, can I just ask Mr. Faruqi, it seems like the live stream ended. Didn't come back. So I don't think anyone heard what you were saying if they were watching on Facebook.
Can you hear me?
Hello? Hold one moment, please, because we want to ensure that the live stream is going. It appears to be an issue, so.
Because it ended on my phone and then it never came back.
I'm not sure why it ended. It did end. If I could restart this, give me 1 second, I apologize.
It hasn't ended with me.
That's fine, we can charge it, Albert. Just charge it just in case.
Sometimes it goes dim.
Thank you, Director Young, for bringing that to our attention. I apologize to the viewers at home for that video ending. Would you like me to go ahead and I'll go ahead and read it again for the record, actually, just to ensure that the public does have the information. Teleconference notice. In an effort to prevent the spread of COVID-19 coronavirus, and in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order N2920, the Order of the County of San Bernardino dated March 17, 2020, there will be no public location for attending this Board of Directors meeting in person. Members of the public may listen and provide public comment via telephone by calling the following number and access code: 888-475-4499. Access code 807-977-6383. Or you may join the meeting using Zoom by clicking in the following link. Public comment may also be submitted via email to the Public Affairs Manager, Nasim Faruqi at nfarouqi@wvwd.org. The webinar will also be made available to the public for viewing. Visiting www.wvwd.org. If you require any additional assistance, please contact Nasim Faruqi.
Okay. Public comment.
I think let's read the other section again. No, okay.
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 Yes, read the other section again.
Just to ensure we don't have any issues and the public knows the information. Any person wishing to speak to the Board of Directors on matters listed or not listed on the agenda, within its jurisdiction is asked to complete the speaker card and submit it to the district clerk. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Under the State of California Brown Act, the Board of Directors is prohibited from discussing or taking action on any item not listed on the posted agenda. Comments related to notice public hearings and business matters will be heard during the occurrence of the item. Public communication is the time for anyone to address the board on any item, any agenda item, or anything of the district. Also, please remember that no disruptions from the crowd will be tolerated. If someone disrupts a meeting, they will be removed. And one more time, if I could ask if anyone has a public comment unrelated to the agenda, please, this is the time to speak. If you could please unmute yourself. We'll give them just a few seconds.
Can you hear me?
Yes. May I ask if you could please, this is for items not listed on the agenda. If you could please start with your first and last name and then go ahead and speak, we would very much appreciate it.
Yeah. My name is Gil Navarro. I'm a water board director with San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District Division 2. I'm here speaking in my own behalf. I'm still promoting water conservation. I'm interested in assessing what resources are available of financial support to remove septic tanks and providing connections to a sewer system on a regional scale. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Mr. General Manager, please follow up with Mr. Navarro regarding his statements tonight.
If there's anyone else that has a public comment unrelated to items on the agenda, this is the time to speak. With that concludes public comment, Mr. Board President.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, we start with a presentation from the Special Districts Leadership Foundation award presentation. We have a guest from the Special District one.
Yes, Mr. Board President, we do have Chris Palmer with us from the California Special Districts Association, Special Districts Leadership Foundation here. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and introduce Mr. Palmer.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Fantastic. Good evening, everyone. Good to see everyone virtually. I wish I were there in person, but hopefully we can get that done next time. My name is Chris Palmer. I'm the Public Affairs Field Coordinator for the California Special Districts Association. But tonight I am wearing my Special District Leadership Foundation hat to honor the West Valley Water District on earning your District Transparency Certificate of Excellence. And just a little background on the Special District Leadership Foundation. We are the 501c3 nonprofit arm, foundation arm of CSDA. And this program is dedicated to promoting excellence in special districts through recognition programs like tonight, like the Transparency Certificate of Excellence that highlight and focus governance best practices. So I'm honored tonight to be able to present to the West Valley Water District the District Transparency Certificate of Excellence. And to earn this program or this certificate, your district had to do basically 3 big main subject areas to qualify for this accreditation. And one, your basic transparency requirements, which include current ethics training certificates for all the board members, timely filing of the state controller's special district's financial transactions and compensation report. It's probably longer to make the report than actually say that, but your timely filing with the state controller's office is one of the first requirements. Second is your website requirements, which include posting of the board meeting schedule, your mission statement, you have your current audit and budget, as well as the board of directors roster with terms of office and all on your website. And the third main subject area to earn this certificate is your outreach, is your public outreach. And you guys have been doing a fantastic job engaging the community. Maybe that's through the newsletter, public budget hearings, and community transparency events. So why is transparency important? Well, the public has a right to access open government. Special districts, regardless of type, size, are public agencies. They use public money for public services. And when you have a transparency certificate like this, you earn that, you're going above and beyond. It means that your district is open, accessible, you engage the community, it allows for accountability. And at the end of the day, the district's business is the people's business. And by earning this certificate, you are going above and beyond, showing your constituents that you are transparent, you're accountable, and that you are providing the best public services using those public tax dollars. So on behalf of the board and staff of the Special District Leadership Foundation, it's my pleasure to virtually present you the District Transparency Certificate of Excellence to West Valley Water District in recognition of your efforts to promote transparency in the operations and governance of your district. So to all of you, congratulations, both board and staff.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer, for being here with us this evening. We do appreciate Special District Leadership Foundation and receiving this award tonight. It has meant a lot to our organization. This has not been an easy road for us over the last few years and over the last few months. However, this is really a testament really to our staff and what they've done, our IT department, our public affairs department, our administrative staff, and being able to compile all the information necessary to comply with the very rigorous. It's not easy. There's a big, thick stack of information that you have to provide to the special district, as well as going through a process where we were able to have a really good conversation with CSDA about our award and the community support for the direction that West Valley is moving in. As a matter of fact, we have been so inspired by this since the time we received this award, and particularly with some guidance from the president of CSDA, Mr. David, of the Special District Leadership Foundation, Mr. David Aranda. We participated in a wide range of activities. We've had a training for board secretaries. We have training for PRA requests. This week, there was a training for financial management, which our staff was involved in. There were several of our staff members that were involved in the So You Want to Be a General Manager training. Our GM has been involved in some of the training. Am I forgetting that? Because there was an HR training which several of us were involved in. Am I forgetting anything, Mr. Fruity?
The only thing that you're forgetting is that we're continuing this training.
Yes.
And in the coming weeks, actually, the board will continue moving forward to the next pillar of these CSDA and special districts, Special Districts Association program.
Now, there's a governance training coming up, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. Everybody got it, 'cause it's on Saturday, because we wanted to make sure that as many of the board members as possible can be there. And I think we're gonna have, how much of our staff there? I think we're gonna have some upwards of 15 members of our staff participating in the governance training. So we look forward to doing that and fulfilling our hours and commitment to be a high functioning district. So thank you all very, very much. I'm not sure if any of the other board members want to say anything about it.
Well done, everybody.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on. The next presentation is IEUA Area Water Supply for the Future Development Projects in Fontana.
Linda Jadeski, Engineering Services Manager here at West Valley Water District. Thank you, President Hawkins, members of the board.
Thank you.
I'd like to give you some information on the North Montana water supply. Currently, we have approximately 1,500 customers served by one well, well 54. Well 54 is running at maximum capacity and is barely meeting the current water demand of this area. Last year, well 54 was out of service, and during that time, the district spent approximately $1 million to purchase FWD water. This map shows the area of the district's northern service. The area in light blue is San Bernardino Valley Water District's service area within our service area. The area in dark blue is IEUA's service area, and it's on the westerly edge of northern Montana. We are currently seeing significant development activity in northern Montana, with over 2,400 new homes occurring sooner than anticipated, all of which are in IEUA's service area, which is that dark blue area that we just saw on the previous map. This map is a blow up of that dark blue area. You can see the area between the red line here and the blue line. This is all IEUA's service area. Right here we have well 54, and it currently serves all of these homes here, here, and here. We are seeing new development occurring in this area, and this area. So as you can imagine, a new well is needed. It's time to begin constructing a new well in this area to be a backup for well 54 and to provide development. The estimated time for new well that area is 12 to 18 months, with a construction of a well timeline between 18 and 24 months. The cost to construct a well is approximately $3 million, and that includes drilling and equipping the well. Our CFO, Mr. Mambahal, has identified one potential source to fund this project, and that would be the Montana Settlement Funds. Currently, we are looking for a suitable well site. This is a blow-up of the previous two maps. The area here with the orange triangle is one of the potential spots that we're looking at for a future well. And that concludes my presentation, unless you have any questions.
Our first presentation before, something that's new here is what's the Montana Settlement Fund?
That was something that we discussed at the engineering committee, and that was brought up by Mr. Mambahal, that that's one potential funding source.
It's a settlement that the district received last year based on a combination of districts filing a lawsuit a few years back, and we received our portion of that settlement to be used in these types of construction. So the settlement amount that we received was $3 million, and that's sitting in our account to be utilized. And this is an excellent use of those funds.
So this is
the fund, yes.
Yeah, so we had decided at the time to put it into reserves for use as for capital improvement. And so Ricky actually brought this up at our committee meeting, because at that point we had been kind of discussing more funding it through the capacity charges, but he reminded us that we did have that $3 million set aside for new well construction or new improvements.
Well, I think we do it through the capacity.
There's no reason we couldn't, but again, he had brought that forward as another possible.
And the reason I am there for that purpose, or could be used for that purpose. And looking ahead, going into the Romer expansion, I want to really reserve the capacity charge dollars for Romer expansion, debt service contribution, and things of that nature.
Okay, that's a good way of looking at it. I would never use the capacity charge unless there's some real reason not to, that's using somebody else's money.
And again, that's why.
Oh,
They can't.
can you hear, did you know what I'm saying?
Just speak in the microphone.
I, just looking at it on the surface, I would rather use someone else's fund than even use our reserve funds. Is there a compelling reason here?
Well, if we have to use another source, then we have to identify that. We'll probably have to go out for, for money, right? And since this is needed rather quickly, with the timeline that's up, and we have those funds, we can use it and then replenish the well back up. It also enables us to build our capacity charge account up more. So when we get to the point of the Romer project, we should have money depending on how we decide to finance that. And if the board decides to go out for funding, we could. But again, remember, going out for funding, there are costs that's associated with it. We might end up spending the neighborhood of $4 or $5 million to obtain the $3 million to construct the well.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the capacity charges would come from the developers, right?
Right.
And have we approached them and to see if they were willing to fund this well that benefits them?
We have not as yet.
We have not. So we come up with our own money. Can we explore whether the developers would put up front this money? Because they're the ones who are making money off this project. Our long term over 2 or 3 years, we would, but right now the developers are the ones who are. And I'm gonna use stuff in their pockets.
No, and I agree. And I think that was one of the points that we also discussed. Again, this was just an option to let you know.
Can we look at that as an option? I would much prefer use someone else's funds. Our funds, even though we got them in reserve, I would really prefer using the developer funds. At some point, they're gonna have to pay us, so.
The only thing would be the timeline.
Yeah,
That's the critical.
Well, we have a backup.
When do we have to make a decision?
This is just for information.
Yeah,
at this
Not
point.
looking for.
yeah, no, we just wanted you all to kind of be aware because the need for this well got sped up because the developer increased the density and the timeline on one of these projects.
Therefore,
So we are talking about it within the committee. Linda's working, with the developer to see if they'll maybe give us a parcel, which I believe is
Right.
part of the PowerPoint. But yeah, this is something which we're probably going to be bringing back fairly shortly, but this, again, which is kind of informational so that you all kind of know what's going on.
Yeah, okay. I wanted the full board to know what was going on, but I would seek the developers funds as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So that at least we can make a decision at the option.
Of course.
yeah, okay.
All right, the engineering committee was okay?
Yeah, I mean, originally we were talking about funding it through the capacity charges that we're already going to be getting. But again, Ricky had pointed out that we did get that $3 million settlement, that is another option. I'm perfectly fine with us approaching the developer too. Let's get all our options. So again, when it comes back, we can decide which one we want to do.
And all the board members are working. This is in Calhoun area, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah.
How up to date on this?
Yeah, we just went over it on Monday.
All right.
May I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Linda, this is Kyle. Hey, Linda, just for clarification though, when we do build another well for these North Fontana projects, will these wells also be assisting in serving current ratepayers as well?
This well would be used to back up well 54 in the event it goes down, as it did last year. So it would potentially help everyone in that area.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for all your hard work.
All right, okay, all right. Any other, thank you, Linda. All right, moving on, the consideration of the consent calendar.
Mr. President, I would like to have a separate vote on item 12, please.
Item 12.
But we amenable to move the remainder.
Okay. Well, okay, that's okay. Okay,
Is that a motion?
Yes.
I second the motion.
okay, all right. There's a motion, it's been seconded. Let's there's discussion, let's call for the vote. Moving item 12.
I mean, item 13.
Oh, I'm sorry. Item 13?
Well, you said through item 14.
Oh, item 13. Item 13 is the second as well. Thank you for catching that. All right. Ms. Mesa, can you call for the vote?
Director Dr. Michael Taylor.
Yes.
Yes.
Director Dr. Clifford Young.
Yes.
Vice President Kyle Kozer.
Yes.
President Shannon Hawkins.
Yes. All right, so there we go. Item number 12. There are motion on the floor to adopt item number 12.
I'll make the motion that we move item number 12.
Okay, that's Dr. Taylor. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It'll be seconded by Greg Young. All right, unless there's discussion, let's call for the vote.
Director Dr. Michael Taylor.
Yes.
Director Ray Young. Director Clifford Young. Vice President Kyle Kozer.
Yes.
President Shannon Hawkins.
Yes. Okay, next up is the considerations and under business matters, consideration, approval of naming the hydroelectric power generation plant. We have some public comment on that.
Well, I haven't so bad.
Everybody, until they're ready to speak, please go on mute.
Good evening, Board of Directors. This item is a carry-on from the last Board of Directors meeting that was requested for this to be continued to this meeting. At this time, we do have a number of individuals that have expressed For now, I would like to go ahead and start with those that are online on Zoom. Beginning, I see Mr. Grosich. You can go ahead and unmute yourself. Start with those that are online on Zoom. Beginning, I see Mr. Grosich. Mr. Grosich.
Good evening.
Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me okay? The sound is very bad.
It doesn't, we can barely hear you.
Okay.
Give us 1 second. Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me okay? The sound is very bad.
It doesn't, we can barely hear you.
Okay.
Give us 1 second. Are you watching by chance, Mr. Grosich? Are you also watching it on Facebook?
Yes, I am.
Because I hear it playing in the background as well. By chance, Mr. Grosich, are you also watching it on Facebook?
Yes, I am.
I hear it playing in the background as well. Mr. Grosich,
Unfortunately, you're only gonna be able to play it or listen to it. You're not gonna be able to listen to it and talk. You're gonna picking up too much feedback, Mr. Gorsuch. And listen to it. You're not gonna be able to listen to it and talk.
I do have his public comment. I know that he did submit it.
Can you read it on his behalf, please? If you're having technical difficulties.
Yes, I will go ahead and read that
On his behalf. And everyone else, could you put yourself on mute until you're ready to speak? Yeah.
Okay, this is a public comment that was submitted by Mr. Gary Grosich, corporate area town of Bloomington. Good evening, board members. My name is Gary Grosich. I'm currently chair of the Bloomington Municipal Advisory Council and a 42-year ratepayer and resident of the community of Bloomington. I'm speaking this evening regarding the naming of the hydroelectric building at the Oliver P. Romer facility. The naming of a building or street after an individual is a high honor, which should be reserved for those that have given of themselves and been intimately involved in a city or in an organization for decades, not a few years. In reading about Mr. Griggs and his numerous and outstanding civic accomplishments in Rialto, where he lived for many years, it would seem to be far more appropriate for the city of Rialto to name a facility after him. While many would say Mr. Griggs performed a valuable service to the district ratepayers in his role as a watchdog over the past few years, the reality is that his service to the district pales in comparison to several other individuals that have literally given many years of their lives in direct service to the district. If the board chooses to name facilities within our district, there are several other worthy candidates that immediately come to mind, including Earl Tillman, John Olinger, Anthony Butcheriza, and Alan Dyer. Of these individuals, in my mind, two stand out. The first is Mr. Earl Tillman. Earl was the first Black board member at the West Valley Water District and was encouraged to run for the office by Oliver Romer himself, who mentored Mr. Tillman. Earl served on the board with distinction for approximately 20 years, and much of the time serving as board president. Among his many accomplishments, Mr. Tillman was instrumental in leading the district through the perchloric crisis. For years, he gave selfishly of himself in service to the district while battling a debilitating disease that eventually forced him to retire from public service. The second person who stands out is Anthony Butcheriza, who devoted 53 years of his life to West Valley, working his way up through the ranks to become general manager. Quite frankly, to name any district facility without an open and transparent process involving input from the ratepayers while ignoring those that have made far greater contributions to the district smacks as just more of the insider politics Mr. Griggs fought against, and that has tarnished the reputation of the West Valley Water District over the past several years. With that said, before the board decides to name a facility after Mr. Griggs or anyone else, I would suggest that you have an open and transparent nomination and selection process based on the merits and accomplishments of various individuals in service of the West Valley Water District. I thank you for your consideration. Gary Grosich.
All right. Next comment.
Okay, do we have anyone else on? I see there are a few people. Do we have anyone listed for public comment that would like to speak via Zoom?
Well, you have to call them. So, call them and let's get the ball rolling.
Okay, I have one here from Hardy Brown, publisher emeritus, Black Voice News. Comments for West Valley Water District 8/20/20 meeting. I'm well aware of the fact that this is in a political season, but the agenda item to the name the hydro plant in honor of someone who volunteered to bring integrity and transparency while uncovering corruption at the highest level outweigh any political season or individual. I read in the agenda that there is alternatives being proposed, but you did not identify what or who is proposing these alternatives. I think you owe the public who is proposing or suggesting this. One thing is clear to me in all of this is that there is no objection to my friend Don Griggs is not worthy of being recognized. So the issue is how we honor his work on behalf of the ratepayers. Let me remind you that Don was looking out for your customers and ratepayers while you were looking out for yourselves and having political celebration parties and drinking alcohol on ratepayers' dimes. Some of you have said that others have served the district for a long time, and this is true. And I wish to point out that most of them, if not all of them, were richly compensated for their work. Now I have no problem with anyone being honored, but that you see fit. But at this moment in time, the one that initiated to honoring Mr. Donald Griggs, it was President Channing that came to the West Side Action Group meeting and announced that West Valley Water District wanted to do something in Mr. Griggs' honor. I received an email from the district to send information to the district on Mr. Griggs in preparation for his honor. Now you do not agree with those who want the plant named in his honor, which is your right, and now you, only the 5 of you, must vote to show your support or not. I am also aware that you have no current policy or procedure to honor anyone, but that this is before you tonight. Only you can attempt to bring the district and community together or keep the mistrust going. I know that some of you are conflicted with the watchful eye that Mr. Griggs kept on you, but many ratepayers are better off today for his watchful eye at meetings. Tonight you have many new eyes watching you, and they will remember what you do tonight. Thank you. We have now one from Gwendolyn Hurd Nelson. Dear Mr. Hawkins, as a neighbor of Mr. Donald Griggs for over 40 years, and being aware of his consistent, untiring, and sincere efforts to address and become involved with various issues for the betterment of our community, I want to request and support the proposed action to name the West Valley Water District's hydroelectric generation plant in honor of him. This is a very befitting, considering Mr. Griggs being the co-founder and former president of West Valley Water District's Ratepayers Association, and the many hours he dedicated to advocate for what is correct, purposeful, and right. The character of Mr. Griggs can be summed up as one who was helpful, respectful, progressive, innovative, genuine, and determined. His ultimate demise leaves a great void in our neighborhoods as well as his business venture, other organizations, which he was a faithful and productive member, his church, City of Rialto, and other neighboring cities, and especially his family and friends. It is my hope that you and the board of directors at your meeting on August 2020 will unanimously approve the plant being officially named in honor of Mr. Donald Griggs. Mr. Gwendolyn Hurd Nelson, resident of Rialto. This is one from Judy Roberts. To the West Valley Water Board, I'm supporting the naming of the hydroelectric plant after a longtime board member, over 20 years, an active Rialto board member, and many years with Rialto High School, Earl Tillman Jr. As a board member, Earl was diligent in working with the federal government to obtain their support during the chloride cleanup. Earl also pushed for the modernization of practices within the district. Please consider honoring an individual who devoted his time to watching out for the community, seeking nothing for himself. He also served as president of the board for a number of years. Please read this to the board and I ask that all of you will consider naming the plant after Earl. Earl is living with MS and the challenges thank you for the opportunity to support this wonderful man. Please read this into the record at the Water District Board meeting. Thank you, Judy Roberts. May God bless you. I've just, excuse me, I apologize. This is one from Betty Gosney, a former board member, and also a resident in the community of Bloomington. I have just realized a question has come up. For those that are familiar with our local water district, West Valley Water District, they are naming a hydroelectric plant. This plant has been in the works and planning for several years with the support of many of the past board members. As a past board member for 14 years and a past president of the board of directors for 2 years myself, I feel it is very important to honor a very motivated and concerned past president and board member, one man who well deserves this honor. I do hope the present board members will take Mr. Tillman into consideration. This would be the honorable thing to do. I would like to have this read into the next board of directors meeting. Sincerely, Betty Gosney. I have another one. Hold on one second. This is from Ms. Jackie Cox, a former board member, also a resident of the community of Bloomington. Attention Board of Directors regarding naming the hydroelectric plant. As a former board member for 11 and a half years, I feel this name should be given to a person that has dedicated many years to the district. Earl Tillman would be one that deserves his honor. Anthony Ariza would qualify after serving the district for 52 years. I would ask my opinion to be read into your next board of directors meeting this evening. And I do have another one as well. Good evening. At the next meeting, this next Thursday, August 20th, they are going to try to name board members. Okay. At the board of directors meeting this Thursday, August 20th, they're going to try to name the hydro generation plant after Don Griggs, the Ratepayers Association president, who died this month from COVID-19. While Don was a wonderful person, he was not involved in the water industry, other than as a watchdog trying to curtail illicit activities by some board members. This comment is by Diana Ariza. Diana Ariza, spouse of Anthony Butch Ariza. There are other past employees who would be a better pick for that honor. Earl Tillman, who was on the board for over 20 years and had to leave due to MS. He worked hard to get to the Department of Defense to come to the table and help pay for the perchlorate in the West Valley Water District water. Don Olinger, a retired teacher and principal, who was on the board for many years and was a good director for the district. Don Griggs has been involved in the city of Rialto, and where I can see honoring him in some way, it should be through the city, i.e. a park or a city structure. I would like to have this letter read to the board prior to their vote. And that was from Diana Ariza. And I also do believe that we have Mr. Butch Ariza on the line. Mr. Ariza, are you there? Let me give me 1 second.
You said, is he on the line? He's not on the line?
He was on the line.
You want the numbers that are muted? You want the numbers that are muted?
Give me 1 second so I can see a little closer.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Ariza, we can hear you. Go ahead and continue with, you can start with your first name, last name, and your public comment. We would appreciate it.
Yes, Anthony Ariza, 5822 Date Avenue, Rialto, California.
Continue, Mr. Ariza.
Yes. Yes, my comments are, I got to know Don Griggs. Can you hear me? Okay. I just wanted to say that I got to know Don Griggs coming to the board meeting. And Don was a great guy. I don't have any problem with Don Griggs, but I do have a problem with naming a water facility after somebody that had no other interests other than being a watchdog. When you have somebody like Earl Tillman, who was a 20-year board member, only left the district because of the MS. He was a teacher at Rialto High School. He was the leader during the perchlorate fiasco we had here in the Rialto area. And I think it would be a real honor. He was the first Black board member on the board of directors. I think it would be a real honor to name it after Earl Tillman, Jr. And that's my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Ariza. Do we have anyone else online to have a public comment? If there's anyone else, this is the opportunity. Mr. Board President, that concludes public comment.
Okay.
We did, if I could, just one more reminder. We did submit into the staff report letters we had received in the past and that had been read into the record at the previous meeting.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we have a staff report, which I'm assuming the board has read. We also have gotten a wide range of perspectives from various community members. I think it is important to note that this is an excellent conversation for us here at West Valley to have. I'm really excited that there has been, and I think whether it is Mr. Griggs or Mr. Tillman, and both of their legacies have been well cemented in our community. In this regard, there are so many people from all over this region who have called in and chimed in tonight, because not about, I know these gentlemen and their service was not connected to receiving an acknowledgement. It was about serving our community. And for either gentleman, I think that to be in a position where you are a servant and where so many people in the community feel so strongly, so fervently about your dedication that they're willing to submit a letter, take their time to call in, take their time to engage, says a lot about the stature of both of these gentlemen. I think that the perspective that we were able to get tonight in consideration with some of the names brought forward is something for the board to consider. It is not about, I don't think about one location versus the other location, but truly, how do we contemplate a acknowledgement that is worthy of these leaders, that's appropriate. I know we've had some very passionate discussion that has been well-reasoned and thoughtful from the board and also the community. And so I think at this time, based on, the sentiment that we're receiving from the community, I just don't want it to end up either or an issue that is divisive, because from what I've heard about these gentlemen and what it seems that the community knows is they weren't about division. So everyone, let's try to operate in that spirit and with the candor and with the decorum worthy of the individuals that we're talking about this evening. So that's just my little bit. All right, so discussion. I know it may.
We don't have a motion.
No, I think we don't. I think for this one, it's better to be to have some discussion. I think the community statement and sentiment that has been expressed is something to be deliberated, it's something to be thought through, because it's an important decision in honoring not just Mr. Griggs, but now it's really been brought, and Mr. Tillman too, because of his service as well. And so, the ideas are kind of new for this evening.
And so, you know, if there's desire by the board to have a little more time to look at this issue rather than making a decision, I could understand that too. And so we can properly assess what to do next that can honor the recent passing of Mr. Griggs, and then at the same time, we should be contemplating some way that we're honoring Mr. Tillman as well. So I don't know if that makes sense to everybody, maybe taking a little more time with the information we have to kind of figure out what we're gonna do, or if you guys wanna just jump in it, we can do that.
You know, Channing,
Yeah.
or Mr. President, I don't have a problem with pushing this over and maybe giving us a little bit more time to think about it and how we might want to honor Mr. Griggs. I have some ideas that I might want to banter around a little later too, that would honor Mr. Griggs in a very special way for the service that he gave to our ratepayers and customers in the community. So, yeah, I don't have a problem moving this down maybe to another meeting.
Okay, so is that a motion to table it, or?
Yeah, let's make the motion to table.
Mr. President, if I may make a statement right quick prior to, supporting this motion. Are you with me?
Yeah. Barking in the background.
Yeah, sorry about that. So like I said, I think it's important that, we all be unanimous in something like this. Something like this is very, very large in nature. It's very, very large to our agency. I think, we need to definitely consider all of our options. This is not something that needs to be, taken lightly or needs to be, taken, too fast. I really do think that we really need to come together as a board and discuss multiple aspects of this. I actually had the privilege this afternoon of speaking with Dr. Peacock, who's now the president of the Ratepayer Association. Her and I had a great conversation. We were able to both express our opinions, and at the end of the day, we were both in agreement that before anything could happen, we as a board need to adopt a policy on something like this. Because this is something, once again, that in my opinion is huge. I work for, the Fontana Unified School District, and we named a school after a board member who served on the board for 25 plus years. So once again, we're not going to get into a debate of, who deserves this more and him versus him and person A versus person B. That's not what I'm getting into. I'm getting into the fact that we need to have a policy, we need to have open conversation amongst all of the board members who all represent individual districts who were voted in by, hundreds, if not thousands of residents amongst our cities and our communities between Fontana, Rialto, and Bloomington. So I will definitely second the motion to extend this, but I wanted to make sure I got this out there that we need to have dialogue, not just on Mr. Griggs, but on a policy for our district moving forward regarding something like this, because we're not a city. We're not a school district. We don't have 40, 50 plus buildings where we have the ability to just, name buildings and properties after a tremendous amount of people. We have very small amounts of property. So we need to just take all of this under take all this under consideration and just be very exact with what we want to do with this. So with that, I'll second Dr. Taylor's motion.
All right, I think there's just a slight amendment to. Oh.
No. I just wanted to echo Kyle's comments. I mean, I think that was very well said, and the fact that we don't have a policy. I mean, I think it underscores that that I think at least not only for now but into the future, we that's something we might want to really look into first. And the feedback I got from a lot of people in Bloomington, as you saw, there was a lot of people from Bloomington calling. My phone's been blowing up all week. It's like, the people should really have play a big role in any kind of a process. I mean, obviously it will always end up with the board and a board vote, But I would not only like to see a policy, but a policy that finds some way to integrate a lot of community involvement from across all 5 divisions, because as Kyle said, I mean, that's a momentous thing. And we don't, and like I said, we don't really have a lot of things that we can really theoretically name after someone. I mean, we're not gonna name wells after people. I mean, we only have so many actual buildings or plants. But I do want to say that I think we should do something, I think, to mark the passing of Mr. Griggs and his service to the district and to the ratepayers. Most people who I talked to were pretty universal that, in this type of situation, when someone who's involved passes, most other agencies that I've talked to, generally they'll do a real nice proclamation. You frame it up, something really nice, which you can present to the family and just, again, mark the occasion of the individual's passing. And, I think at the very least we can do that. I would think we can all agree on that. And we can look at this idea of possibly naming buildings just in general and possibly him and others like Mr. Tillman or Mr. Ariza or any number of people who've done a lot for this district and look at that down the road once we have a policy established. So I completely am on board with what Mike and Kyle are saying, and I would like to maybe see us maybe just do a proclamation, something we can just get done now, and to show our sorrow and grief for what the Griggs family is going through with the loss of Dawn, and to at least acknowledge what he did contribute to this agency. So that would be what I would.
Amendment to the amendment.
No, I mean, I'm not putting it out there as an amendment, I'm just.
Okay.
Just something we can look at down the road.
Dr. Young? Yes, to, at minimum, postpone voting on anything until a later meeting, and we can get, I don't know if Kyle was necessarily saying it, but I think there's 2 things. One, at minimum, postponing, taking any action. And then 2, what I'm hearing is to develop a naming policy before we take permanent action. Right. And that's kind of what we're doing, but at minimum, even if there's not a motion, at minimum, at least continuing this item for future conversation.
I have a third for the vote.
You want to be a fourth?
It's not a third, it's a fourth. Okay, the full for that is that we, actually develop a policy for this. Now, maybe overlapping with someone else, but since we're having a discussion, is that, we at least have a policy. I come from an institution, we have policy. It's happened, we put the policy on that. And that includes the different one, we sit together.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay, well, I think that makes sense. Let's at minimum, because we are dealing with some pretty heavy stuff here and a lot of passion, well-placed passion and support from our community. Let's postpone this item, continue it for another date, appropriate date, when we can have a little more time to kind of think it over, have some research on what some of the naming policies, and then
Or maybe a
workshop on it.
To sit down and kind of hear from the public on what they would like to see a policy to look like, maybe see what other agencies are doing.
Excuse me, Mr. Hawkins?
Yes?
You have to speak here. I could not. You have to talk here. I tried to talk, and you guys, could you unmute me? I could not speak.
Okay.
Tell her it's Dr. Peak.
All right.
Tell her who you are. They think it's Dr. Peak.
In the spirit of tonight's meeting, and to ensure that community voices are heard, because that's what we're talking about, is community and having a voice on this issue. If there
Are you listening to him?
some individuals who are not able to speak during public comment as an exception, definitely an exception, not a precedent in any way, shape, or form. Because of the importance of this issue, that there are some additional speakers that want to chime in.
Mention having discussed it, which you don't
Permit
really
that
need to say
that
too much.
take place.
God damn it.
Is there someone who wants to speak? I think I just heard someone attempting to speak.
Yes, can you?
Well, there's no formal process, you know, just going with it. We'll do it. We're gonna make a special exception because the sensitivity and passion is important. All right. So.
Wait, I'm trying.
President Hawkins,
Here.
I think Dr. Peacock would like to speak in public communication. Dr. Peacock is trying to speak.
Yes. Go ahead, say
Yes,
something.
I have been trying to speak for some time, but I think I was muted. And when it was the time for the public comments, I apologize for butting in at this time, but I kept calling out and saying I would like to speak. What I basically want to say is that I thank the board and I appreciate all the letters that came in and the comments that were made.
Wait. We got screwed up. Oh, man.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I did speak to Kyle today, and we did have a very nice conversation. One of the things that I did mention is that if the board did decide for a policy, that indeed there had to be some community input into that policy, because again, if we, I think that we need to hear from different constituents. And so I think it's a very good idea for the board to make a decision about how that community input will look. I still stand by the Ratepayers Association's recommendation to name the building after Mr. Griggs. But at the same time, I'm also open and willing to work with the board in terms of the policy that you develop so that we can make a determination about what that recognition would look like. And so that's the comment that I wanted to make. I also want the board to consider the fact that service varies and service looks different. And I don't think we can evaluate service to the community and compare that necessarily as to service as a board member. And so I think that's one of the things that needs to be looked at, because service varies and service, I appreciate, the comments about Mr. Tillman and his service. But at the same time, I think we also need to talk about the variability of service if you're an elected official as opposed to someone who volunteers, someone who takes up their time, unpaid time, and takes up their time and goes around, meets with the various constituents and represents and advocates on their behalf. So there's differences in terms of service. So all of this can be discussed, and I'm looking forward to hearing about how we're going to go about developing and working on that policy. And thank you so much. Sorry I had to interrupt, but you couldn't hear me when I was trying to speak. Thank you.
Yes, and we made it an exception tonight on this issue. We likely won't make, all right. So anyone else before we close the meeting? I think we have a motion. Well, hold on, I know we got a motion to continue this item for a later day.
Mr. President, can we take the vote?
Okay, yes, we can take the vote. We're voting to continue. We're just continuing. I don't know if we got a vote on the continue.
Yes, we do have it.
We're going to continue. Yeah, we don't need a vote to continue. All right, so with that being said, we are continuing, I think it's unanimous agreement on continuing this item. Are we just telling her to?
Yes, it's unanimous. I'm gonna go with the chair's privilege on that. It's unanimous. It's unanimous. We're continuing the item. Okay. All right, there you go. All right, moving on. All right, next up is report limited to 5 minutes, board members. Any report?
I'll try to make it brief. I know you all love it, but anyways, just thank you to everyone for calling and comment. These are very important matters, but we sure do appreciate it when people take the time to voice their opinion. And just thank you for everyone for coming and watching, and try to stay hydrated out there. It's really hot, and y'all have a good evening. Thank you very much. Oh, and if I just could, I just want to say that, you know, I didn't have the pleasure of serving with Mr. Tillman, but I did get to meet him briefly before he left the board, and I will never forget that one of my first board meetings I came to, he made it really an important effort to, and at the time his father was having to help kind of wheel him around at that stage of his MS, and was adamant to, he wanted to wheel him so he could come over and shake my hand and welcome me to the district. So I personally will never forget that. I wish I got to know him as well as so many of the former board members did. So I just wanted to mention that as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, any other board members want to make any comments? All right, being none.
I will, Channing, real quick.
Yeah.
Channing, if I may real quick.
Yes, oh yes.
Just real quick, I want to make mention that I was actually had the honor of attending our district's recent all hands meeting. I don't get to attend those very often. In fact, this is my first one. And it was real nice talking to some of the employees and the management about things that are going on from the district and how we're kind of trying to go through this pandemic. I really appreciate the fact that I was actually able to speak with a couple of the employees who were actually able to raise some very important questions. Some of the questions that were brought up to me were regarding some of this current pandemic issue. One of the questions that was raised was regarding the COVID time. And I just want to, let you guys know that, and let the board know as well, this was brought up, that the board and the district has gone above and beyond and has granted our employees the 80 hours of relief time for COVID. And I understand that some have already taken that. Some have yet to take that. Obviously we hope that we never have to cross that bridge, but it is a probability. So the district has gone and actually afforded the 80 hours of time to our employees. And from talking to our CFO, it sounds like it's actually going to be on their pay stubs this week, if I'm correct. Another issue that was actually raised by another employee was where we were at regarding our assistant general manager. There was actually some concern that this has been taking quite a while, and they've seen it on the agenda numerous times. They kind of want an update on that. And I said that was actually very good they brought that up, because we haven't said anything about it. And we just kind of take it for granted because we get all our updates all the time because we know what's going on, but we're not really as transparent with our employees. And, I explained to them that this is kind of where we're on the process. And we did have some delays with Hawkins Group trying to do what a great job they did with recruiting the candidates and going through the process. And obviously we had delays with COVID with trying to make sure board members were available and candidates were available. And we've already gone through a round of interviews, and we got another round of interviews coming up. So I was able to update them on that. So I just wanted to once again thank the employees for allowing me to come to their meeting, as well as being open with asking me questions, and that we were able to give them some answers back. So I want to say again, thank you for that. And I will definitely be attending that again in the future. And just to echo Greg's comments, please stay safe out there, guys. It's going to be hot in the next couple weeks or so. And thank you for all your hard work.
Okay, all right, any other comments?
We set September 3rd for the next board meeting?
Yes, we'll have the next meeting, September 3rd. Yes, September 3rd. Also, I know we had a very exhaustive process for the selection of the AGM.
anyone has questions. I know it's probably taken much longer than some of the processes over the last few years. However, with this process, one of the things we want everyone to understand, this is the first one that I've had the opportunity to be involved in, and the focus has been on qualifications. The focus has been on ability to perform the job, and to be someone who would be able to pass the smell test. And during COVID-19, it has been a process to be able to do that. However, what we wanted to ensure is two things. One, that the person is duly qualified and can do the job. And two, that there is consensus amongst the board in assessing, and that we're very deliberative and intentional in the process. That the kind of person that our ratepayers would pay for in the future, when you add up everything, that they will be somebody worthy of the position. And that's what we've tried to do with this process. So it has taken longer. I know there's been some shorter processes in the past, but you know, we don't want to talk about it. All right, so with that being said, that being said, are there any other comments? Legal, anything to report out?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, the board gave direction to hire a law firm to perform a legal opinion, and I will be, well, yes, hire a law firm to pick a law firm to give a legal opinion. So, we will be doing that.
All right, all right. Anything else reportable? Nothing else, all right?
No reportable action.
All right, the call for adjournment. They were trying out something new tonight. Play some under that. They were trying out something new.